which is fascinating because there's a lot of rumors out there as well about, that the Muslims and the Ottoman Empire, they're the ones that created vaccinations or started off vaccinations. That's not entirely true, but we've definitely got game. We've got game at the Ottoman level, but we've also got game from the Sunnah as well. I mean, from the Ottoman Empire, let's make it clear. We didn't invent vaccinations, but we did take to the next level the concept of inoculating via variolation. Variolation is I want you to understand that back in the days, smallpox, which was an infection which absolutely ravaged the world. Millions upon millions killed as a result of smallpox. Probably around the 1500s, 1600s, 1700s, the Chinese, as always, Bismillah, mashallah, they're madness when it comes to these kind of things. They worked out this concept, which was then later taken on by the Indians. But I'm pretty confident in myself from my own research that we should rate the Chinese for this first, putting aside the Sunnah, but we'll come to that in a second. They basically saw smallpox and they said to themselves that this is a significant condition, which if we are able to cause a very light version of the same condition in the person using the infection itself, eliciting a minor response to produce a defense in the body against the major one, then this looks like a good thing. They tried it out. What did they do? They would take the scab, it was very primitive then, but they would basically try to attenuate it by diluting it or by drying it out, etc. And the Ottomans are the ones who smashed this to the proper level, right? When it came to in modern Turkey, in this area, what the smallpox spread massively. What they did is that they were able to basically isolate scabs. They would allow them to dry out a lot more than a fresh scab would. An infected pustule, because when you got a smallpox, you see the pustules. It's quite easy to monitor, right? So they would get the scab, they would powder it, dilute it, and then they would do superficial scratches. And in the superficial scratches, they would create the infection. And subhanAllah, they found that it was actually causing a light version. Took a couple of weeks, but the people were being saved from smallpox. And I don't know, 17 blah de blah, could have been 10, 17, 11, 17, 20. There was an actual, and this is the true part. And this is called variolation. This is not vaccination. So the Muslims really made this very popular. And Lady Montagu was one of these kind of British aristocrats. She was the wife of the ambassador to the Ottoman Empire, the British ambassador to the Ottoman Empire. She herself had smallpox, and if I'm not mistaken, she was maybe even disfigured as a result of smallpox. Anyway, her son, I believe, got smallpox, and she had him treated in Turkey, under the doctors of the Ottoman Empire, and it worked. It was an absolute great success. So then she brought that back to England. She had her other child then inoculated, and then that spread in the UK as well at that time. And then of course now then we know around 1800 or 1790, whatever it is, Edward Jenner then using what had been propagated and perfected and had been trialed, he then took that and he created the modern day vaccination that we know, using the same principles, but he did a different way, as the story goes, as you all know. Well, obviously, most of you know, obviously, Generation Z, millennials, they don't have a clue what I'm talking about. But read up on it. They would take the cowpox infection they would take the cowpox infection, injected it into a smallpox victim as a protection against smallpox, and that was the beginning of vaccination. Anyway, the point is that the Muslims had a major role in the propagation of the concept of inoculating, variolation, which eventually then became vaccination. But the asl itself, it can be argued, comes from the Sunnah as well, way before the 1500s, way before the Chinese. The Prophet ﷺ said that if a fly, in Sahih Bukhari, if a fly falls into your drink, then immerse it completely, and then remove it. فَإِنَّ فِي إِحْدَى جَنَاحَيْهِ دَاء وَالْأُخْرَى شِفَاء. Because in one of its wings is the disease, but in the other wing is the cure. Think about that. In one of the wings is the disease, and in the other one is the cure. Yani, you've now been infected, your drink has been infected, so now go back with the same thing for the cure. The concept that you will find your solution in your problem is actually, when you think back to the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, وَجَعَلَ لِكُلِّ دَاءٍ دَوَاءٍ, and that he has placed in every cure, every disease, a cure, it really starts to come home. You start to now appreciate what's going on here. And this could be argued to be the founding principle of the concept of vaccination, because that's of course what we do. The vast majority of vaccines, regardless of the way, the method that they're using, the vector methods, and we'll come to that a little bit later, they are using an existing vaccine to either reproduce the spike protein, for example, in the Pfizer and the Moderna version, or they will take a virus and they will attenuate it. They will reduce its ability to be able to cause any kind of problem. Kill it, but not kill it in certain ones. Sometimes they're live, but completely harmless, but enough there in terms of genetic information to be able to elicit the infection without causing, to elicit an immune response without causing an infection. So you're using your enemy to be your solution as well. That is established by the Prophet ﷺ and then taken, of course, to the next level.